Hey, I wasn't planning to record this today, but after living with the AVR-S570BT at the center of my setup for weeks, I've got to tell you what this actually feels like when you use it every day. This isn't for someone who just plugs speakers into a TV and calls it done. This is for the kind of person who hears when sound feels flat, when music lacks presence, when surround cues don't place you in the action. You know deep down that real home audio isn't just louder, it's immersive, dynamic, and intentional. Before you go any deeper, take a moment to check the current price and availability. Receivers this capable don't stay stable in price or stock for long, and that hesitation is exactly how great deals slip away. You know that moment, maybe during a movie when dialogue felt muddy, or a game where footsteps sounded like they were coming from nowhere, or a track where the bass lacked authority, and you thought, this should feel bigger? That's when you realize you've outgrown compromise. Your old setup wasn't bad, it just wasn't alive. Once you hear what a proper AV receiver does, there's no going back. Installing the AVR-S570BT didn't just add a box to my system, it organized and elevated the whole experience. Suddenly sound wasn't just coming from speakers, it filled the room. Dialogue felt anchored and clear instead of buried. Surround effects had dimension instead of feeling boxed in front of you. Music had space and texture instead of flatness. Bluetooth streaming finally worked without dropouts, and every source connected seamlessly. I've lived with this in real moments, late-night movie sessions where every subtle cue felt intentional, gaming where positional audio informed reactions instead of confusing them, playlists that suddenly sounded rich instead of hollow, and everyday viewing where voices came through crisp without chasing the remote. This doesn't just make audio louder, it crafts it so every moment feels purposeful. When you're in the thick of it, you don't think about what your HDMI counts. You think about how it makes you feel in the room. Don't stall thinking I'll wait for a better deal or maybe later. That hesitation is exactly how regret happens. Months later you look back and think, I could have been enjoying this experience all along. If you're wondering whether a dedicated AV receiver actually matters, let me reframe that. Once you feel sound wrap around you instead of just blasting forward, everything weaker feels like listening through a veil. This doesn't just amplify speakers, it unifies them, giving clarity, direction, and impact. Here's something most people don't expect, it doesn't just make sound louder. It makes sound meaningful. You start hearing nuances you never noticed before, the whisper before a score's rise, the ambience under effects, the depth in dialogue that suddenly feels anchored in space. Surround cues feel dimensional, not flat. Dialogue feels clear, not buried. Music feels textured, not then. Dynamics sit with presence, not muddiness. Your whole room finally feels part of the moment. Yeah, you'll want proper speakers to match it well, and once you hear real surround depth, anything weaker feels hollow. Eventually you stop cycling through endless options and pick the one that already feels right, the one your mind keeps returning to when you think, that's the experience I want every time. So check the current price and availability now. If you've been waiting for the sign that your home setup deserves real presence, immersive clarity, and audio that actually matches what you're hearing and feeling, this is it.